Last time Apple truly shocked me was 2018 when they introduced the iPhone XR. For a company who was laser focused to not acknowledge their competition, it was a move confirming that they needed to compete in the low to mid-end smartphones category. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't the first time. They put out iPhone 5C in 2013, iPhone SE in 2016, and they even put iPhone 8 and 8 Plus along with iPhone 10 in 2017. But the XR was the first time they positioned their budget lineup with their premium offerings. Fast forward 5 years, we now have 4 or more iPhones for different demographics. For the longest time, there was a degree of separation between the two ecosystems of Android and iOS. But as we get USB-C with iPhone 15 series launch this year, that gap has never been narrower. And that's why Apple caught my attention this year. This is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the best Apple has to offer. I agree with that statement, but there are several caveats that you need to know. In pursuit of being environmentally friendly or profitable, the unboxing experience is pretty typical. The box is thinner and has a nice touch. Inside the box we can find the device, some safety compliance and manual paperwork, one Apple sticker, and the braided USB-C cable. And that's it. The design is pretty familiar. In fact, if you had it side by side with iPhone 14 Pro Max, you couldn't even tell the difference. However, it's only when you pick up the phone when you notice a significant difference. 14 Pro Max feels like a heavy brick compared to this one. The titanium definitely makes it way lighter. Speaking of titanium, the housing is just a fingerprint magnet, at least with this blue color. It has a softer feeling to it and kind of like a matte texture, but I don't know about it feeling more premium than stainless steel or armor aluminum. The substantial heft with those metals definitely feels more premium to me. Now, as you already know, this device failed the durability test from Jerry Rick Everything. I think you should be fine day to day if you take good care of the device, but it's a good idea to slap a case on it, just in case. Questionable pun aside, I think it's the heft or weight to size ratio that's the problem here. The device is too big to be this light, so it is something to keep in mind. Back of the device is matte glass, and these are the thinnest bezel and most uniform bezels I've ever seen on a device. Edge-to-edge display is accompanying the phone, and we have the notch returning or dynamic island. Repetitive design, I know, but this idea is genius. Between the front camera and Face ID, there are black pixels, and because of the amazing display panel, you won't notice these, but if your environment is too bright, you can see those pixels, and it kind of takes away from the experience a little bit. Day-to-day cases, the display is great. The notch becomes less obtrusive the more you use it. The Face ID is blazing fast, and the panel itself is perfectly bright. Always on display is useful, but I turned it off straight away to save battery life. There isn't variety to it compared to Android. To test the panel, I put it against my Fold 4 and S23. Fold 4 has slightly better display than both of them, but you have to put them side by side and really squint. I don't think it's the panel, it's the color profile and processing. The battery life on this device has been incredible. In fact, out of all the phones I've used up until now, this phone has the best battery life. However, I was testing it with my friend's iPhone 14 Pro Max, and the jump isn't that big given the bump in battery capacity and shorter nanometer. Another highlight of this device is the standby time. It's amazing. I had this phone on standby for almost a week with some light usage and still had 30% battery left. But I should mention my regular S23 isn't that far behind. Samsung has definitely improved their battery capacity a lot, but if they go with Exynos for next year, they might lose their progress. With moderate to heavy usage, you can get more than a day, 5 to 7 hours a day, and light usage can even get to a day and a half. Universal Serial Bus USB-C is finally here. There was a rumor that Apple might limit the functionality of the USB-C cable, but I've tested various bricks, starting from 10 watts all the way to 96 watts with various cables with no noticeable concerns. I've tried USB-A to USB-C and USB-C to USB-C. Charging this device, it did kind of got hot when compared to my other two daily drivers, but it got back to its normal temperature within 5 minutes and sustained it. Apple is only giving us 10 gigabit per second, when this lower tier flagship from Samsung has 20 gigabit per second. Even the lowest end of Android these days are coming with USB 3.2. Overall, no major findings in this department. Performance is as you would expect. It's powered by A17 Pro, which is a 3nm process. This goes without saying that it can handle whatever you can throw at it. I left multiple apps open in the background and pushed it pretty hard. Not only did I not notice any overheating issues, it didn't even skip a beat. One important thing about this device, however, Resident Evil 4, Village, and Assassin's Creed Mirage are coming to this device, and Village reportedly uses PS4 assets. I love this. Not because of the games, but because of the performance benchmark use case. We're at a point where whatever we can throw at modern smartphones, they won't push SoC's limit. Having a console game running on the phone will finally utilize the performance potential, and we should be able to see in real time how much the chip has improved. Metal API will be used to repurpose those game assets, and hopefully we can get more developers and publishers on board. Imagine the pressure on Android to compete. However, I'm a bit skeptical. I remember back in 2018 when Fortnite was launched exclusively for Note 9, and similar speculation was made, so hopefully it's not one and done kind of thing. I bought this device for the cameras. Need I say more? You can tell just by looking at the bump of these sensors. Amazingly simple. Point and shoot and you've got a gorgeous shot. The images have plenty of detail and the processing is lightning fast. But there are several pro options available at your disposal should you need to tinker with your shots. Since 2013, I've used Samsung devices as my daily drivers. But in 2018, I picked up iPhone 6s and iPhone 8 to daily drive them alongside. I mostly just mess around in the settings app, occasionally use them to get a quick shot or do comparison with Android when the latest update rolls around. I took shots with S23 and 15 Pro. S23 always produced brighter and more colorful shots, but iPhone always produced more color and detail accurate shots. When I'm looking back at my photos, I want them to pop, and I love the exaggerated processing that Samsung does, but it's just a personal preference. I know how important accurate details are, and don't worry, it won't factor into my recommendation. iPhone's video quality is just incredible, well detailed and adjusted. There is no grain present even in challenging situations, and comes out looking incredible. I wish they gave us an option for 8K 30fps, but it's a very niche feature with not a whole lot of practicality. This is the most important part of the review. I think a reviewer reviewing the device has one question. Does the device offer best value to the consumer? In this context, value refers to user experience, future-proofing, price, innovation, use cases, and other aspects. Depending upon how much value is being offered, that is how strong or weak the recommendation is from the reviewer. Recently, I've seen my fellow reviewers taking an interesting approach to review the new iPhone's non-Pro models. One of the reviews I was watching, they said that the regular iPhone has speed of 480 megabit per second. But if you don't know what that means, you're probably fine. I agree that not everyone needs to know every single detail about their phone. Most people aren't gonna care and their use case might not even apply. But saying that, if you don't know what A16 Bionic is, you're probably fine even if Apple is using last year's chip. If you aren't pixel peeping, then all camera hardware is probably fine. If you don't care about the colors, then muted colors are probably fine. If you don't care about faster charging or reverse wireless charging or superior customization, then you are probably fine. One of the other reviews pointed out that 60Hz on the standard iPhone isn't a big deal because you aren't even gonna notice it. Guys, for people who aren't gonna notice or don't even care, they're gonna go to Apple's website and buy it. They're just gonna upgrade to the new iPhone model anyways. To paraphrase Steve from Gamers Nexus, if you're just gonna regurgitate first-party claims, you aren't providing any value as a third-party reviewer. Apple might as well publish their own review. But as reviewers, we should point out that iPhone using a speed standard from 23 years ago. It's using an older chip. There's a DRM pairing problem with parts in the repairability department. It's using refresh rate from 7 to 8 years ago. Does that mean these are deal breakers and no one should buy iPhone? Of course not. But if we are complacent, I don't think consumers are gonna get the best value. Also, there's less incentive for the company to put more value in their devices. Maybe Apple won't fix these issues, and maybe they don't need to. For the longest time, iPhones and some other Apple devices were able to operate under the guise of a different ecosystem. And that's why we got same designs, headphone jack and charger brick emissions, slower charging, old hardware. But recently, iPhone has diversified its lineup. It has added customization and widget features features. It has added janky support for FaceTime on Android, and it has even added a USB-C port because of EU regulation. We must hold all these devices on the same pedestal regardless of the ecosystem. Same goes for Android as well. Compared to iOS, their video quality, battery life, and raw performance are abysmal. The point is, we should be calling out these things even if they don't affect anyone, because our goal is to get better devices for consumers from every manufacturer. I will add a consumer-friendly section from now on in my reviews, discussing these things and encouraging companies to push the envelope. Finally, the question remains, should you buy it? If you're on iPhone 11 or lower, you prefer Apple's ecosystem, you've been using Apple devices, and you want the latest and greatest, then yes, it's an amazing device with enhanced Pro features. But I think if you don't need all the incremental upgrades this device comes with, and you can live without USB-C, buy the 14 Pro Max and save yourself a fortune. For me, I will be using it for videography, but it won't be replacing my daily driver foldable. If you're not locked to the ecosystem, you've got money to spare, this price tag will buy you a Samsung foldable. It's way more exciting than slab phone. Otherwise, Pixel 7 or 8 or even S23 Ultra would do with plenty of money to spare. Do you think this iPhone is worth upgrading to? And what's the best Android alternative? Pixel or Samsung? Or something else? With that being said, this is Rogue Hat. I hope you guys enjoyed this perspective. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you guys later.